Well, hello, everyone. I'm Dan Turbyville. This is Powerhouse Fence Show. Thanks for stopping by. This week, we're going to talk about the rooms that you're in. So, we've been this whole year, I guess, we've been doing kind of a series that is be careful what you consume. And this week, we're going to talk about the rooms that we're in and, who's in the rooms with you? Are you in the rooms that are going to help you grow? Are you in the rooms that are going to hold you back? And we'll dive into that a little bit. So, if that's interesting to you, let's get after it. If not, thanks for stopping by anyway. I'll try again next time. So, we do have some sponsors on the show: Memphis Fence Company, Simpolo, and Valgard Strategies Group. They are listed up here above my head. We also have some partners on the show: the Thornton Fence Consulting Group, EasyG Manufacturing, My Salesman, and Fence News. Those are all listed across the bottom of the screen. You should know who all those people are, right? Thornton Fence Consulting Group. Tony Thornton is a veteran of the fence industry and has been in just about every job there is in the fence world. EasyG Manufacturing, they make the big orange equipment, the fence hog and barbed wire hog and stuff like that. You've probably seen their equipment around. My Salesman is pre-qualifying software, right? Basically, leads come in and you can give them budget numbers. And Fence News is a fence industry publication. So if you're interested in any of those, links in the description to all of it. So we already talked about what we're going to talk about this week. And I am live. I haven't been here very much. I think this is only like the third show for the year. It's crazy. Last week we were at Fence Tech. The week before that, we were all snowed in and trying to get ready for Fence Tech. And I don't know why, but that happened to us. I don't think last year, but I think the year before when we were going to Nashville, same thing happened. We got a bunch of snow and ice and stuff like that, and we were shut down the whole week before the trade show. Well, here we are again. Same thing happened. Fence Tech was really cool. It was a crazy blur. When we left here Sunday and we drove to Indianapolis, and I was fairly sick on the way there. I did not feel very good at all, so that drive really sucked. And it was like you blink and the whole week is gone. It's insane. If you've never been, you're missing out. So a lot of times I talk about, stuff that I'm listening to and reading and things like that. And so we've been going through the book From Drift to Drive by Chris Robinson here at work. We started a book club. And so we sit down and we talk about the book, and we've been kind of following along. When we met this week, the instructions in the book basically were to create a goal and a bunch of steps that go towards that goal. And we did that. And so we all sat around and we shared our goals that we came up with. And that was pretty cool. If you have anybody that you could have a book club with, sounds kind of silly, but actually it's kind of cool. And there's a lot of accountability, right? And so when you have to meet with people once a week and you're expected to have read some certain part of that book, there's a lot of accountability there and making sure that you do it. But anyway, that's the most exciting thing. I still listen to a bunch of podcasts. I've been listening to My First Million, Founders, David Senra. I listened to the Knowledge Project a little bit. I just kind of bounce around some. I definitely listen to Founders podcast very regularly. It's probably the most common one that I listen to. And I listen to some of the fence industry podcast. Just whatever seems interesting to me, right? I don't listen to that podcast just because I listen to that podcast every week. Like, I try to actually listen to something that's going to be meaningful and I think will be impactful on my life and somehow help me to grow. And that's kind of what I focus on. I try to filter out all the other nonsense. And sometimes I get into a podcast or a show or whatever, and I might go, yep, this isn't it for me right now. And I just move on. So I do appreciate everyone who listens to this show. Super cool that people tune in and listen to me. I appreciate you all being here. Someone called me a couple days ago and they're like, hey, I've been listening to your show. And we had a 45-minute conversation. Very interesting story, because this guy was, I think, like a year away from graduating with his MBA. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go in the fence industry. I'm going to start a fence company. And I thought, man, that's a very unique path that led him to owning a fence business, his intention is to own a fence business. Uh, I don't think I've ever heard that story before. So that was pretty cool. But we chatted for a while and I enjoy that kind of stuff. So if you do want to reach out, I do put a phone number on the bottom of the screen every single week. Feel free to use it. So, having said all of that, let's get into the show. Oh, we took a bunch of videos and stuff like that at FinStack. So, if you do want to, check out and see some of our experience, we kind of just went around and found the things that we thought were cool and some of the people that we like, and we talked about the stuff that they were doing there. We talked about different products and different services and things like that. We did not make it to everyone that we would have hoped to make it to, but again, it's just a blur. It's so crazy. But we did get some video content and we did some interviews and we played around and we got kicked off of some RC cars and all this stuff. And it was fun. It was a good time. So let's get into the show. I think I've said this every single time, but just to be clear, I support events, coaches, speakers, all of these things. So this topic and this whole be careful what you consume isn't anti anything. It's just about being intentional and filtering what you consume. Okay. And again, nothing is always, there's edge cases everywhere, and everything that I'm saying is based on my own experience. If I'm wrong, please tell me, call me, email me, whatever you want to do, just let me know. So we've talked about, again, being careful what we consume, right? So be selective about who you listen to, be intentional about what you listen to. So that's two things. They're kind of related, selective and intentional. Filter out the junk, filter out the noise. If you're on a mission, like filter out everything that doesn't help you on that mission. I get we all need entertainment sometimes, right? We all just want to sometimes not be on the mission. But don't let that be all of what you're listening to. Right? If you're going to be on a mission, be on a mission most of the time. Go get it. So when we listen to podcasts, social media, books, videos, whatever it is, just be intentional. Okay. And also be careful about who you're listening to. I listened to a podcast this morning that was like a reaction kind of thing to another podcast. And they're basically just like debunked everything that the person said on the other podcast. And they're like, no, they're just completely wrong. Right. And they're just trying to manipulate facts to fit their agenda and to be what they want. So again, man, it's so easy, right? I mean, I sit here and do it every week. Anybody can sit and have a podcast. Anybody can post a YouTube video or put reels on Facebook or whatever. It's so easy to do that stuff. Just be careful what you're consuming and make sure that the people you're listening to know what they're freaking talking about. Don't believe everything you hear. Okay. Sometimes people make things out to be way better than they are, right? So the last episode we did was like, why commercial fence? Well, that's kind of what I was getting at is a lot of people talk about it and make it to be some glorious, fantastic, amazing thing. Well, maybe, but maybe not, right? We heard some stories at Fence Tech about this. We have like multiple experiences of people just coming up and telling us this crazy random stuff. And they're all like stories that make you go, oh, okay. Maybe they're real, but maybe people are full of crap. So we got to be careful and we just got to be cautious. And so remember that old saying, right? If it sounds too good to be true, probably is. All right. So what you consume is not just what you read. It's not just what you listen to. It's not just what you watch. It's not any of those things. It's also the behaviors of the people around you. The way that people behave in the rooms that you're in will influence you and you consume that behavior. Okay, so you consume the energy that they're putting off. Ever been around some people that are just like slothy, like they're just super calm, relaxed, never get in a hurry about anything, always just, yeah, okay, whatever kind of attitude, right? Does it just make you want to take a nap? And then on the other side of that, have you ever been around those people that are just like super high energy and you spend a day or two with them or a few hours with them or a phone call with them and like, man, you get off the phone and you're pumped up, you're ready to go conquer the world, right? That's because you consume the energy that they were putting off. Uh, we consume the attitudes of the people that we're around. You ever notice you talk to any of those friends that are having a bad day, or maybe they're just grumpy in general, and it wears off on you? I noticed this a few weeks ago myself. I was on the phone with somebody. I need to take a sip of tea already. Yeah, so I was on the phone with someone, and man, they were being a real Debbie Downer, and they were just "Meow, meow, 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 meow." Uh-oh. I'm sorry. I do apologize. And so they were being a real Debbie Downer, and they were just fussing, and they were not having a good time, and it brought me down, right? And I've been in this scenario a few times, and sometimes I'll just call people out on it and be like, "Hey, suck it up, man. Like, yeah, I get it. You're having a bad day. We all have bad days sometimes, but like, you're not gonna bring me down with you, right? So let's just get past that." So sometimes I'll call them out, but and I try to bring them up, right? If they're gonna sit there and try to bring me down, I'm gonna fight back and I'm gonna try to bring them up. There's no telling how many times that's happened to me where I've been on the phone and I didn't notice and I got off the phone 10, 5, 20, 30 minutes later and I was just in a bad mood. Because I consumed the attitude that they had. I soaked it all in and I became the attitude that they were putting out. It happens to all of us. And this happens with anything that we consume, right? I mentioned phone calls. I mean, it could be a podcast, it could be a video that you watch, it could be whatever, right? It happens to us. So you consume this excuse mentality. You know those people. They just have excuses, right? I was gonna do something great, but man, I got a flat tire. Right? I was just about to get started on my resume so I go get me a new job, but then the dog barked. I was fixing to go to the store, but then it was too hot and somehow too cold at the same time. So I just didn't. Get out of here with that crap. And you listen to that stuff all the time and you consume it. Okay. So these have all been negative, but the opposite is also true. You consume the high energy that people put off. Again, you ever been on a phone call, in a meeting, in a room with those people that just have that high energy and they're ready to go conquer the world? Right? You feel that, like, excitement and you feel the energy in the room and, like, man, everything is like, there's static electricity popping off of stuff and, like, things are happening. You've been in that scenario? It happens both ways. So you consume the high energy, you consume the positive attitudes. When you're around people that have positive attitudes and go-getter mentalities and they're happy, it's gonna wear off on you too, right? It captures all of us because, see, we're just, like, super sophisticated animals, right? And for a lot of the human part of history, we've just lived in these little small groups. Okay. Hunter gatherer type of groups. And maybe there was 20, 30, 50, 100 people, whatever it was. So there's actually this thing called Dunbar's number that says around 150 is the cognitive limit to stable social relationships. It's very interesting. And I would like to dive into that a little bit, but I'm not going to. So we can't be friends with everyone. We do not possess the capacity to be friends with everybody. We can't do it. We have our little brains and they're only capable of so much. They are quite fascinating and they're capable of a lot, but they're not capable of everything. So when humans lived in these environments, it was essential to our survival that we fit in. Because if we were rejected by the group, we would be isolated. And if we were isolated, we probably would not survive. We definitely couldn't reproduce if we were out there on our own, right? There's safety in numbers, so if we were alone, we would be vulnerable to attack. And in a lot of scenarios, isolation meant death. Just straight up death. It was you're going to die, your bloodline's going to die. It's the end of you if you wound up isolated. So, our brains craved belonging. right? Because it was necessary for our survival. We had to fit in to survive. Now, then we had to figure out, how do we fit in? How are we accepted into a group? Well, you know how. We would we would conform, right? So we would change ourselves to fit into that group because it was a necessary part of survival. You don't think we do that same thing now? Right? Yeah, maybe it's not for survival, but it's still in us. In the 1950s, there was a psychologist named Solomon Ash. I don't know, ASCH. And so Solomon performed some experiments. And the participants of these experiments, they were asked questions and they gave obviously wrong answers. And it was not like there was a threat of any kind of punishment. There was no pressure for them to give any certain type of answer, any of that. They just gave the wrong answer. And they gave the wrong answer in order to fit in with the group, right? Not because the group was pressuring them or anything else, but just because that's the way that the group answered the question. And so they just went along with it. 75% of the participants gave an obviously wrong answer at least one time because they wanted to fit in with the group. They wanted to be a part of that group. So when humans, I keep saying we, like I'm a human, so I guess we. So when we were in these tribal settings, we'd have to speak like the group and believe like the group and act like the group because we didn't want to get kicked out of the group. So we had to fit in. And again, those behaviors are still inside of us and we still do that. So when we're in the room and we're around the people that are negative and the sloths and all of this other stuff, I'm sure there's a better way to say that than the sloths, but that's what you get from me. We all wanted to fit. We just want to fit in, right? And so subconsciously we conform and subconsciously we adapt to those settings and we become like the group so that we fit in. That's it. And maybe you're thinking, oh, yeah, but that ain't me. Well, maybe not, but maybe so. Maybe it's subconscious. Maybe you don't even know that you're doing it. So, neuroscience shows that humans possess mirror neurons. Okay, and these mirror neurons activate mirror like a reflection. I don't know if I'm saying that very clearly, but these mirror neurons activate when we observe someone else performing an action. So, in other words, subconsciously, we imitate other people. Have you ever noticed the whole yawning is contagious kind of thing? Right? That's because of this. Have you ever, every once in a while, because I'm aware this is a thing. And so sometimes, I don't know, maybe like quarterly, not very often. Sometimes I'm in a conversation and I have the ability to have the realization of, wait a minute, let's look at my posture and let's look at their posture. Right. And a lot of times it'll be like both of us, we kind of have our hands behind our back, our head, and we're kind of kicked back, leaning a little bit, and we're both doing the same thing. Or we might both have our arms crossed. We might both be leaning on the desk, have our legs crossed, whatever that is. Right. Like our postures will match. And it's not because either of us were like, oh man, I want to be like that guy, right? I'm gonna look like that guy. I'm gonna act like that guy. No, I don't think it's it. I think it's just because of these mirror neurons and it just happens. It's crazy, but pay attention to that. If you think about it in the coming days or weeks or whatever, pay attention when you're in a conversation and you're sitting there, like look at how you're sitting and look at how they're sitting and see if you don't see any times whenever y'all are the same. In general, our behavior is contagious. Their behavior is contagious. So I think what we could do, well, yeah, our behavior is contagious, right? So you don't decide to imitate. Your nervous system does it for you. So I think what we could do is maybe we could be the one, right? And we could be the leader of that thing. So if you're in the room that's full of Debbie Downers and all of this stuff, right? And you got to be in the room, like don't give in. Don't do it. Be something different. Be the one that brings some positivity into the room or some energy into the room or some happiness into the room. Like we can take that role. We can do that. We don't have to just conform. So there is another piece to this thing, right? It's been super negative. You know, here I am talking crap about Debbie Downers and all of this stuff, and I'm being negative myself. I don't know why, but um, there's another piece. So if we go all the way back to those tribal days, right? So there were people that were rock stars of those groups. Maybe they were really skilled hunters, or maybe they were, protectors, right? They were really gifted warriors. Maybe they were knowledge holders, right? Like the elders of the group, whoever it was, they were they had some special skill that really made them stand out. And so other people would intentionally try to imitate them to increase their own social status or increase their value in the group or something like that, right? Because remember, they didn't want to get kicked out. They didn't want to be isolated. They had to fit in. So a lot of times we think we're independent thinkers. And we're like, oh man, all this junk, it doesn't influence me. Like, yeah, I may watch some of this nonsense, but it doesn't influence me. It doesn't do anything to me. Right. And then we may think that we can be in the room of people who are up or down or whatever they are. And like, it's not going to bother us. We're not going to be swayed by the people in our circle. We are the leader and, they all look up to us, da 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 da. Well, maybe, right? Maybe. But biology kind of says that we just fit in with the crowd. So, what does all this mean? It means if we're around our old friends who like to party, what do you think we're going to do? Right. And if we're around our family, friends, neighbors, whatever, that go to work at their 9 to 5 and they just barely do enough to skim by and they're just sitting there watching the clock, wait until it's time to leave. You know what they do, right? You don't think that influences us? And on the other side, if you're a part of a high energy peer group that wants to go to the freaking moon, what do you think that's going to do for you? Right? So that's the room that I personally want to be in. I want to be in the room of high energy people that want to go to the moon. I don't want to be in the room of the people watching the clock wait until it's time to go home. Right? I don't want to be with the people that want to just go out and party all the time and that's all they care about, right? They go to work just so they can go party. I'm not interested in being a part of any of those groups. I want to be where the right people are. I want to be in the rooms with the right people. So when we decide what we're going to do tonight, tomorrow, next week, whenever, like, let's think about who's going to be there. What kind of attitude are they going to bring when they come? What have they accomplished? Right? Are they going to lift us up or are they going to bring us down? We want to be around the people that are going to lift us up. We want to be in the right group. We want to be in the right room. Because if we're in the rooms where chaos is normalized, then we're going to normalize chaos too. If we're in the room where excuses are common, then we're going to soften our expectations and we're just going to go right along with it. But if we get in the rooms that demand precision, then we're going to step up our game, right? The rooms that expect discipline and we're going to grow. That's where we want to be. We want to put ourselves in the right room. And we want to be in the room that's going to steer us in the direction where we want to go, not the room that's going to keep us stuck in that rut. I have to take another drink. So just hold your horses. Okay. Sorry. Still trying to get over all this sinus junk. It's driving me crazy. Should have taken some medicine before I did the show, but I didn't. Here we are. I'm making my way through it. So we want to be in the rooms that are going to steer us where we want to go, right? We're starting, we do the book club. Okay. So yeah, we're in the room with ourselves, but we're reading the book and the intention and the hope is that there's growth among our book club group because we come together with a common interest, and we all sit down and we talk about this book and we talk about, man, how can we apply this to our life? Like that's what we do every single week. We talk about, oh, I realized I do really bad at this thing and I should apply this thing to my life, and this can help me to grow and this can help me to improve. Right. So that's the whole point of the book club. That's what we do. Uh, Next week, we're starting a mastermind with Purple Coaching. Never done one of those before. Really curious what it's about, but we're starting it. We're going to try see what it's like in that room. Right? We go to every one of the emerging fence professionals events. There are Zoom meetings that happen once a month. We're on those. At FinTech, there was a couple of in-person things, and we were there. I like to attend the right events with the right people. And you're gonna we're gonna make some mistakes, right? We're gonna go to some event and be like, man, I think this is gonna be the greatest thing ever. And you get there and it's kind of like, eh. And then you go to some and you're kind of like, I don't know what to expect. And you walk away and it's just amazing. All right. So all of those things, you experience all of that. But when you walk away from the one that's amazing, that's the one you want to go back to, because that was the right room with the right people. I want to be influenced by the right people, right? I want to know the people that I want to be like, because that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to go in a room and be like, oh, I know these people and I'll look up to these people and this is what I aspire to be. And so I'm going to absorb everything I can from them while I'm here. And let me just get on another little negativity piece right here. It's not negative, it's just real, right? It can be kind of lonely. I've, I was a part of a conversation that was about this, and I realized that it can be lonely and other people experience this too. So odds are somebody listening to this show has experienced the loneliness that comes along with the life and the whole wanting to go to the moon kind of mentality, because we grew up with people. We had friends when we were in elementary school. We had friends when we were, in high school. We played sports together. We did all of this stuff together. We went to school together, right? Like we had that thing that we shared. And then, oh, you know what? That's a really good example. Because I just thought about when I was in high school, there was the people that wanted to do really well and the people that wanted to do the bare minimum so that they didn't get grounded. I want to be with the people that want to do really well. That's probably not who I was in high school or in college, but now I finally grew up a little bit. I think there's a lot of people that make it to the grew up a little bit status when they're in high school. It just wasn't me. It took me a long time. Y'all know, if you listen to the show, there's a lot of things that take me a long time to figure out, and here we are. So yeah, there's a real sense of loneliness, okay? Because those people that we grew up with and the people that we played sports with and the people we did all that stuff, we just have less and less in common with them. And it makes it harder and harder to go do anything, right? Because yeah, we can go to dinner and we can talk about our kids, right? We can talk about, oh yeah, I went fishing, I went hunting, I went and rode my boat, whatever that is, right? Whatever people are into. Like you can talk about those things and that's cool to do. But there's people in the world that I once looked up to that have let me down. Maybe you can relate to that too. And it seems like the circle just gets smaller and smaller. And it's not easy. Like I said, it's kind of lonely. It's part of life, right? And I don't know, I think a lot of that like social experience that is really a part of who humans are and what we desire. Like for me, I get a lot of that at work. Because yeah, there's a couple people in the world that I might do something with outside of work, but pretty much the socializing that I get is all revolves around the fence industry, whether it's here at some fence event, I call somebody like, you know, group messages, whatever that is, like that's where my social stuff mainly comes from. And I go home and hang out with the kids and we do that whole family thing and come back to work again tomorrow. So I mentioned the group messages, right? And like going to events and being parts of these groups, emerging fence professionals, free. Okay. Some stuff you got to pay for. Sometimes you got to pay to be in the room. You got to pay to play. Sometimes you can get in the rooms for free. You can certainly go to events pretty cheap. You can put yourself out there. You can get uncomfortable and you can go shake some hands and meet some people. So, this is what I'm going to leave you with. Okay. I leave you with some challenges. So, I challenge you to pick up the phone and call someone that you look up to. Oh, well, I just don't have their phone number. Do you know where they work? Do you think that phone number might be published somewhere? Right. And guess what? They might not answer the phone. They might not call you back. Yeah, there's a possibility of that. But I challenge you to try. Okay. Pick up the phone, call them, whatever it is. I challenge you to try to expand your circle with the right people. And I challenge you to find a way into the right rooms. Because if you want to change your results, you may have to change the rooms that you're in. So get out there, get uncomfortable, pick up the phone, call someone, expand your circle. And I'm going to leave you with I'm going to leave you with this Wyatt Earp quote from Tombstone. He says, "You going to do something or just stand there and bleed?"